There are moments in life when we look back and realize something strange happened. Something we wanted so badly never happened. A door suddenly closed, a plan completely failed, or someone walked away when we wished they would stay. At that moment, it felt painful. It felt unfair. But what if some of those disappointments were actually protection? What if Allah was saving you from something your eyes could not see? Sometimes the greatest mercy does not arrive as success. Sometimes it arrives as delay, rejection, or a completely different path. Today, we will talk about the hidden ways Allah protects us from dangers we never even knew existed, and why trusting Him may be the most powerful thing you ever do. Have you ever thanked Allah for something that never happened? Most people thank Allah when doors open, but very few thank Him when doors close. Yet sometimes the closed door is the blessing. Sometimes the unanswered prayer is protection. Sometimes losing something is exactly what saves you. We live our lives seeing only a small part of the picture, while Allah sees everything, what is visible and what remains hidden. Today, we are going to explore 3 surprising ways Allah protects you from harm that you never even saw coming. And by the end, you may start looking at your struggles in a completely different way. There are moments in life when we look back and realize something strange happened. Something we wanted so badly never happened. A door suddenly closed, a plan completely failed, or someone walked away when we wished they would stay. At that moment, it felt painful, it felt unfair. Maybe you cried about it. Maybe you stayed awake at night asking yourself why. Maybe you even asked Allah why something that looked so good had to disappear from your life. But with time, many people discover something powerful. Not every closed door was a punishment, and not every delay was abandonment. Sometimes what felt like loss was actually protection. Human beings naturally focus on what they can see. We see today's problems, today's pain, today's disappointments. We look at the small picture directly in front of us and sometimes forget that Allah sees everything. What happened before, what is happening now, and what could happen tomorrow. We plan according to limited knowledge, but Allah plans with complete knowledge. This is why sometimes things happen in ways we never understand immediately. Think about how often people chase something believing it will bring happiness. A certain opportunity, a certain person, a certain dream, a certain path. They make dua for it repeatedly. They work hard for it. They imagine their future around it. Then suddenly everything changes. The opportunity disappears. The relationship ends. The plan fails completely. And in that moment, disappointment feels heavy, because people usually judge situations too quickly. We often decide something is bad before the story is finished. There are people who once begged for jobs they never received, only to discover later that those companies collapsed, those environments were unhealthy, or that better opportunities appeared elsewhere. There are people who cried over relationships that ended, only to later realize that staying would have brought more pain than peace. There are people who became frustrated because they experienced delays, but years later understood that if things happened earlier, they would not have been ready. This does not mean pain disappears immediately. Pain is real. Disappointment is real. Feeling confused is real. Even righteous people experience sadness, fear, and uncertainty. The difference is understanding that temporary confusion does not mean Allah has forgotten you. One of the hardest things for human beings is accepting that protection does not always feel pleasant. If someone gives you exactly what you want every time you ask, you may call that kindness. But what about the times when something harmful is kept away from you, even though you desperately wanted it? That protection often feels uncomfortable because we rarely celebrate what we never received. Imagine a child wanting something dangerous without understanding its consequences. The child may become upset when prevented from having it. The child may think the parent is being unfair. But protection often looks unfair when knowledge is incomplete. Human beings sometimes behave similarly. We become attached to outcomes while not knowing what those outcomes truly contain. Many people spend enormous amounts of energy asking, why did this happen to me? But sometimes a different question changes everything. What if something worse was prevented from happening to me? This question creates room for trust. It creates room for patience. It creates room for understanding that not everything hidden is negative. There are countless situations where people only understand years later. They look backward and suddenly connect events that once looked meaningless. The delay led them somewhere better. The failure taught them skills they later needed. The rejection redirected their path entirely. Looking backward often provides clarity that moving forward does not. This is why trust becomes so important. Trust does not mean you stop feeling emotions. Trust does not mean pretending difficult moments are easy. Trust means believing that Allah's wisdom exists even when your understanding does not. There is a difference between not understanding something and something being meaningless. Sometimes people think that if something painful happened, it automatically means Allah is angry with them. This assumption creates unnecessary fear. Difficult moments are part of life itself. Closed doors are part of life. Delays are part of life. What matters is how a person responds when those moments arrive. When life goes differently from your expectations, it becomes very easy to become impatient. Social media makes this even harder because people constantly compare their lives with others. Someone else seems successful. Someone else seems happy. Someone else appears to have received exactly what you wanted. But comparisons hide reality. People rarely show their struggles, their regrets, or the hidden difficulties behind what appears perfect. There are things you are protected from that you may never know. Conversations that happened without your knowledge. Situations that changed at the last moment. Problems that never reached you. People whose intentions you never discovered because Allah removed them from your path before you needed to know. This hidden protection is difficult because humans prefer visible answers. We want immediate explanations. We want complete understanding. But life rarely works that way. Sometimes years pass before meaning becomes clear. Sometimes clarity never fully arrives in this life. The challenge then becomes continuing forward despite incomplete answers, continuing to make dua despite delays, continuing to trust despite disappointments, continuing to believe that Allah's mercy is present even when circumstances feel confusing. Perhaps some of the things that hurt you most were never meant to destroy you. Perhaps some of the doors that closed were protecting you from rooms you were never meant to enter. Perhaps some of the things you lost were not removed because Allah wanted less for you, but because He knew something you did not know. And perhaps right now, even in moments that make little sense, there are forms of protection happening around you that your eyes simply cannot see yet.